There is someone in your life who ruins your excuses. Same city, same economy, same internet, same distractions in their pocket, same school system, same kind of job, same number of hours. They are not famous. They are not a celebrity. They are close enough to you that you can see them clearly. And that is exactly why they are dangerous to your story about yourself. While you sit on half-finished side projects, abandoned courses and plans you will get to when things calm down. This person just keeps shipping. New skills, new certifications, better body, better pay, better network. They do not seem smarter than you. They just keep going when you stop. Deep down you know this, and it burns. You are comfortable comparing yourself to people who are far away. The billionaire founder, the chess prodigy, the tech genius, the viral creator. Social comparison theory, from Leon Festinger, explains why. Your mind is always trying to judge where you stand, but it prefers comparisons that do not threaten your identity. If you compare yourself to a child prodigy or a world-class athlete, the gap is so huge that your ego stays safe. Of course they are ahead, you tell yourself. Genetics, luck, rich parents, the right school, the right timing. That kind of comparison does not hurt you very much, because it almost feels like a movie. Their life is not your life. Their world is not your world. You can watch them, admire them, hate them, but you do not feel personally accused. The person who proves you're lying to yourself. The problem appears when the comparison target is a peer. Same background, similar age, same cultural garbage, same social media, same temptations, and same excuses available. When that person starts to pull far ahead, your system feels attacked. Now the story that keeps you safe is under threat. Festinger pointed out that when someone very similar to you does better, it is not just data. It is a direct hit to your sense of self. It says, you could have been there, but you are not. That is why you quietly avoid thinking about this person too much. You change the subject when they come up. You downplay their progress. You roll your eyes and call them obsessed, lucky, gifted, or acting. Anything to make sure their results do not force you to question yours. Harold Kelly and Bernard Weiner studied how people explain success and failure. This is attribution theory. Your brain can blame things on internal causes, like effort and choices, or external causes, like luck and talent. External causes keep your self-image intact. Internal causes hurt, but they give you power. When someone close to you is outrunning you with the same basic tools, your mind has two options. The first option is expensive. Admit you have not used your time and attention with the same intensity. The second option is cheap. Declare that they are just gifted or had some hidden advantage. Your brain rarely chooses the expensive option by default. It wants to protect you from shame right now, even if that protection chains you to the same level for the next decade. So you invent a soft myth. You tell yourself that the people who work at that level must be built differently. Better genetics, more natural discipline, higher IQ, some secret trait that you just do not have. This story is not harmless. It is a psychological shield against learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is what happens when someone keeps failing in situations they cannot control, then stops trying even when the situation changes. By saying they are just different, you avoid feeling that sick, heavy sense that you are failing in a game you could have played better. The cost is high though. That story kills your effort in advance. If talent decides everything, why suffer on purpose? The data does not agree with that story. K. Anders Ericsson studied chess masters, musicians, athletes, and experts in many fields. What he kept finding was not a magic gene, but long stretches of deliberate practice. Not just doing something for many hours, but targeted, structured practice that focuses on weaknesses, uses clear goals, constant feedback, and full attention. This is the part almost everyone skips, because it is boring, ego-crushing, and uncomfortable. It forces you to stare at your limits for hours. Ericsson found that elite performance tracked much more with total hours of this exact kind of work than with early test scores of raw intelligence. Talent may decide where you start. Deliberate practice decides how far you go. Angela Duckworth called the trait that keeps people in the game grit, long-term passion and perseverance for a goal. People high in grit do not just work hard for a day or a week. They keep returning to the same grind for years, even when initial excitement dies. In study after study, grit predicted who finished tough programs, who stayed with hard goals, who kept improving while others flattened out. It was not the highest IQ or the best background that explained the largest differences. It was who kept showing up past boredom, past embarrassment, past that heavy brain-deep feeling of being done. This is where your gifted myth quietly works against you. If you believe real success is about being naturally brilliant, then every time something feels hard, you take it as a sign you are not that type of person. You stop right when actual growth is about to start. You call it listening to yourself. You call it accepting your limits. In reality, you are training your brain to associate discomfort with identity damage. Instead of thinking, "This is hard because I am building a new skill," you think, "This is hard because I am not meant for this." So you flee. Then you meet someone, same situation, who stayed in the discomfort and climbed anyway. To protect your old stories, you have to label them. You call them obsessed. You call them unbalanced. You tell friends they are probably miserable and hiding it. You say they must be sacrificing their health. You throw around pop psychology terms you do not really understand. Anything to avoid saying the simple, clean sentence that would cut through the fog. They just kept working when I stopped. They walked into hours and days that my mind refused to enter. They ignored the early alarms that I treat as sacred. They earned results that I secretly believe I deserved more than they did. The truth is ugly, but you already know it. Right now, somewhere in your circle, there is a person who destroys most of your excuses. They had the same teachers or worse, the same family or worse, the same screen in their pocket or worse. They started with the same social rules pressing down on them. But they made different choices with the same 24 hours. They did not wait to feel ready. They did not keep obeying the first wave of tiredness. They did not defend their pride by telling themselves a talent story. They sat, stayed, and pushed until that second, colder part of the mind started to take over the work. You have felt a weak version of that state before. The late night where you finally stop jumping between apps and suddenly hammer through 2 hours of work in silence. The exam week when you get more done in 3 days than you did in the last month. The crisis at work when you think you are totally drained. Then some emergency hits and you find another gear. Every time, you tell yourself it was a rare exception. A temporary high, adrenaline, panic, not something you can control. That story lets you go back to regular life without guilt. It also guarantees you will only touch that level of output by accident. Here is the part you cannot unhear. That person in your life who keeps outperforming you is not a miracle. They are evidence. Evidence that your limits are not where you say they are. Evidence that your mental ceiling is softer than you want to admit. Evidence that with the same hardware and similar conditions, different software leads to a different life. The comparison is not unfair. It is precisely fair. And that is why thinking about them feels like swallowing glass. You can say the system is rigged, and in some ways it is, but that does not erase the plain reality that two people are living in the same system right now, and one is pressing harder than the other. You do not have to talk about this with anyone. You do not have to admit it out loud, but your mind will not forget it. The next time you catch yourself saying, "I did not have time," that face will flash in your memory. The next time you say, "I am just too tired," as you reach for an easy distraction, you will remember that they were tired too, and they did not stop at that moment. Every excuse now has a counterexample standing in your own life, staring at you. That is the poison. Once you see it, every claim about your limits has a silent question attached. Is this real, or are you just refusing to do what that person already proved is possible? You can keep the protective lie if you want. You can keep telling yourself that those people are rare freaks of nature, blessed with some hidden trait that you just did not receive. It will feel safe, and you will stay exactly where you are. Or you can admit the darker, heavier truth. Most of what you call your limit is just a habit, a stop signal trained into you, a pattern of obedience to discomfort. That person in your life is not your enemy. They are a mirror you have been dodging. From now on, every time you meet them, you are not just seeing them. You are looking at the version of yourself that stopped negotiating with weakness earlier than you did. The fake wall. Fatigue as a trick, not a limit. Mental fatigue feels absolute. Your eyes blur, your thoughts slow down, and your body starts sending you strong messages. Enough. Shut it down. You are done for today. You have been trained to treat that feeling as a hard wall, as if your brain has hit some fixed biological limit. But cognitive science keeps pointing to a darker conclusion. That wall is often fake. It is not a true shutdown. It is a negotiation tactic. Your brain is not collapsing. It is bargaining for comfort. Psychologists R. Hockey and S. Boxam studied mental fatigue and performance. Over and over, results showed the same pattern. People report feeling mentally exhausted long before their actual task performance drops in a serious way. They feel slower. They feel more drained. They say they cannot keep going. But when you look at the numbers, they still can. Accuracy stays stable. Reaction times do not fall apart. The brain has not run out of power. What has changed is how badly the person wants out. That feeling of fatigue is closer to an emotion than to a fuel gauge. You see this emotional side of energy in daily life, but you pretend not to. You drag yourself through a boring assignment, barely able to focus, yawning, scrolling, telling yourself you are cooked. Then your phone lights up with a message from someone you like. In seconds, you are fully awake. Your heart rate jumps. You type fast. Your brain suddenly has enough bandwidth to craft the perfect reply, check their profile, stalk their last few posts, and imagine 10 possible futures. 5 minutes ago, you were too tired to think. Nothing in your biology changed in those 5 minutes. The only thing that changed was perceived value. Think about gamers who stay up all night. They are slumped over at dinner, saying how wiped they are from work or school. 2 hours later, a new season drops in their favorite game, or their friends invite them to play. Suddenly, they have 6 more hours of high-focus attention available for maps, stats, callouts, and coordination. Their body did not secretly recharge during that time. The energy was always there. Their brain just decided the effort was finally worth paying for. When something hits the right level of interest, threat, or reward, the fake wall cracks. Neuroscience backs this up. Researchers like Treadway and Salamoni study effort and reward in the brain. The systems that use dopamine are not just about pleasure. They help your brain decide when to invest effort. Effort always has a cost. It feels uncomfortable. It uses resources that could go toward easy, safe activities. To control this, your brain is always running a quiet cost-benefit analysis. When dopamine signals say that the reward is high enough, your brain releases more effort. When the reward feels too low, the brain starts pushing you to disengage. That push feels like boredom, restlessness, and tiredness. So many times, when you say, "I am tired," the raw truth is closer to, "I do not see enough payoff for this effort." Your system is not collapsing. It is refusing what it sees as a bad trade. The task does not feel worth the pain. That is why when a real threat appears, like a crisis at work, your energy suddenly snaps back. Students who swear they are too drained to study somehow find the power to cram all night if an exam looms the next day. Workers who can barely stay awake through routine tasks flip into alert mode the second a big problem hits that could get them in trouble. Your brain did not grow a new battery in those moments. It just decided the cost of not focusing was now higher than the cost of effort. For a long time, psychologists believed in a strict ego depletion model of willpower. Roy Baumeister and others showed that after doing one mentally demanding task, people performed worse on a second task that also required self-control. The idea was simple. Willpower is like a muscle that gets tired. Use it too much and it runs out. This model matched what people felt, so it spread fast. It let everyone say, "See, I have used up my willpower, I need to stop." But later research began to challenge this neat story. Some studies had trouble repeating the original findings. Other work by Veronica Job, Carol Dweck, Greg Walton, and others found something sharper. People who believed willpower was limited behaved as if it was. People who believed willpower was not easily exhausted kept performing better, even under the same strain. In plain language, your idea of your limits becomes part of the limit. If you are convinced that mental effort quickly drains some fragile inner tank, then the second you feel strain, Your brain throws a red flag. You read that flag as danger and pull back. But if you believe effort is uncomfortable yet sustainable, you treat the same signal as background noise and continue. The belief shapes the behavior. The behavior shapes your performance. The performance then feeds back and confirms your belief. You build a self-fulfilling loop around your own fatigue. This is where the fake wall lives. There is a moment in hard work where discomfort surges. Your attention slips. You start checking the time. Your mind begins to generate alternative actions that feel more pleasant. Snacks, scrolling, stretching, random tasks that are suddenly urgent. Your self-talk shifts. You start giving yourself reasons to stop. You had a long day. You deserve rest. This is not that important. You will do it tomorrow with a fresh mind. On the surface, it sounds kind and reasonable. Under the surface, it is just your brain refusing a trade it does not like. You have seen people break this wall accidentally. The student who keeps studying past the point where friends logged off hits a rhythm, and suddenly the material starts clicking. The writer who plans to stop after a few pages feels terrible, forces 10 more minutes, and then falls into a strange calm where words begin to flow. The coder who pushes 50 more lines of debugging when they feel finished, and in that stretched period finds the core bug that had them stuck for hours. None of them felt ready. None of them felt fresh. They did not wait for motivation. They treated their own "I am done" signal as a test, not as a command. This creates a mental split you need to stop avoiding. Two things can be true at the same time. You can feel tired, and your brain can still hold much more work than you allow it to. You can feel like your attention is cooked, and still have the ability to lock in. If the stakes rise or the reward becomes real, you can feel that you are hitting some natural cognitive cap, and still be operating far below what your system is capable of with training. Living with both truths in your head at once is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the doorway to a different way of using your mind. Most people do not want that doorway. It ruins their favorite story, that their limits are fixed and moral and respectable, that leaving tasks half-finished is just listening to their body, that their shallow effort is actually deep self-respect. The research does not support that comfort. The brain is not a fragile machine that shuts down at the first sign of strain. It is a bargaining animal. It lies, it exaggerates, it throws fatigue at you like a smokescreen whenever effort does not feel worth it. You can keep treating that first wave of tiredness as a divine message, or you can treat it as an opening move in a negotiation. From now on, when that familiar tiredness hits early, you know too much to hide behind it. You cannot honestly say, "I have nothing left." You can only say, "Right now, my brain thinks this task is not worth the pain." That is a very different sentence. It forces you to ask harder questions. Is the task actually pointless, or am I just soft? Is the payoff actually low, or have I never trained myself to value long-term rewards over short-term comfort? Have I ever tested how far I can go past this wave, on purpose, not just in emergencies? The fake wall is not going away. But once you see it as fake, you lose the luxury of treating it as fate. The leash. How you were trained to obey weakness. You were not born with this obedience to the first hint of fatigue. It was trained into you. Slowly, repeatedly, almost gently. School was the first lab. Bells told you when to start and stop, not your own capacity. You learned to aim for the grade needed to pass, not the edge of your ability. You learned that once the assignment was good enough for the teacher, you could shut the brain off with no penalty. B.F. Skinner showed how rewards and punishments shape behavior. Do well enough, get praise, or at least avoid trouble. Do more than enough, get almost nothing extra. It does not take long for a child to figure out the rule. Do the minimum that keeps the system off your back, then relax. Homework quotas and grading curves drilled that in even deeper. You saw that effort beyond the requirement rarely changed the reward. The kid who read the extra chapter got the same grade as the kid who skimmed the summary. The student who went hard for months often ended up in the same band as the kid who crammed at the last minute and guessed well. The signal you absorbed was simple. The world pays you for ticking boxes, not for using your full capacity. So you learned to stop when the box was ticked. You taught your nervous system that done means met the external demand, not reached my internal limit. Modern self-care culture, taken at face value, sounds like a correction to this. Rest. Listen to yourself. Do not grind yourself into the ground. There is truth in that when used for real recovery. But most people have turned self-care into a socially accepted exit door from any form of discomfort. Feeling slightly bored. Call it burnout, shut down. Facing a task that pokes at your ego. Call it protecting your mental health, walk away. Clinical psychology knows this pattern well. Avoidance behavior reduces stress in the short term, but it strengthens fear and weakness in the long term. Every time you escape a hard task under the flag of self-care, when you are not actually at risk, you reward yourself for running away. You train yourself that relief comes from quitting, not from pushing through and finishing. While you are building that habit, your devices are training a different part of your brain. Social media, short clips, games, constant notifications. These are not neutral toys. They use what Skinner called variable ratio schedules, random rewards that you cannot predict. Sometimes a post gets no likes. Sometimes it blows up. Sometimes a loot box has junk. Sometimes it has something rare. That random reward pattern is exactly what keeps casinos in business. It also locks your attention. Every scroll is a soft gamble. Maybe the next clip will be funnier. Maybe the next post will be more interesting. Your dopamine system gets hooked on these tiny, uncertain hits. The danger is not just addiction. It is how these micro-rewards interact with effort. You sit down for something hard. Study, deep work, writing, training your mind. Within minutes, the task starts to sting. Confusion, boredom, self-doubt. Right at that point, your brain knows it can escape into a world of instant, easy rewards with one tap. You feel tired, but what you are really feeling is the pull of an easier reward schedule. Social media and games are always ready to soothe that initial discomfort with fast dopamine. So your "I am tired" message gets linked with grabbing the phone or opening a new tab. The leash tightens. Research on learned industriousness by Eisenberger showed that effort itself can be paired with reward or with punishment. If, over time, effort is followed by positive outcomes, people start to find effort itself less aversive. They can even start to enjoy that hard-working state because their brain has learned that it leads to good results. If effort is usually followed by nothing, or by pain with no payoff, people learn the opposite. The very feeling of trying hard becomes a signal to stop. Most people were trained in environments where doing the minimum got them what they needed, and extra effort got them nothing extra. Then, on top of that, personal effort started to compete with hyper-processed digital candy that feels good right away. The result is simple. The moment you feel strain, your brain tells you that continuing is both pointless and unpleasant. On top of this, loss aversion silently shapes your choices. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that people fear losses more than they value equal gains. Losing $10 hurts more than gaining $10 feels good. Applied to effort, this means the average person is far more sensitive to the small loss of comfort right now than to the equal or greater long-term gain from finishing something difficult. That is why the thought of 90 minutes of deep, focused work feels unbearable, even if the result could shift your income or your status. Your brain magnifies the pain of the next 90 minutes and shrinks the gain of the next 9 months. Every time you say "I am tired" and walk away from a meaningful task, you are not just losing that block of time, you are feeding the leash. You are teaching your brain that the first wave of discomfort is a command to retreat. You are letting external systems train you like a lab rat. School trained you to aim for good enough output. Work trains you to think in shifts and deadlines instead of personal capacity. Apps train you to expect constant small rewards with almost no effort. Self-care culture trains you to label any hard feeling as unhealthy. Add these together over years, and you get exactly what you see around you. Adults who fold the moment they feel mentally sore. The cost is not only in money or grades, it is in power. Every time you surrender to that first "I am tired" signal, the gap between your potential and your reality widens a bit more. Someone else with the same leash systems around them is choosing to pull against it. They are sitting through those same ugly minutes of boredom and doubt. They are denying themselves the easy escape. Their brain is learning a different association. For them, effort is becoming linked with progress. For you, effort is becoming linked with escape. After a year, it looks like a small difference. After 10, it looks like a different species. You do not notice this while it is happening because the world around you normalizes it. Everyone says they are exhausted. Everyone jokes about being burned out. Everyone laughs about short attention spans. Everyone is scrolling in every short gap of silence. When weakness is shared, it feels natural. It feels human. The leash blends into the background. You forget it is even there. You think your behavior is just you being realistic. You think your brain calling you away from effort is some wise inner voice. You do not see that entire industries are built on keeping you in that soft, obedient state. If this bothers you, good. Loss aversion can work in your favor too. Once you realize how much power you have lost by obeying weakness, that loss should sting more than the loss of short-term comfort. When you feel the urge to quit a hard task, you are not just deciding between work and rest. You are deciding between staying on the leash or cutting a thread. You are deciding whether to reward your brain for running or reward it for staying. You are choosing whether to remain manageable, predictable, harmless in your output, or start becoming something that systems cannot easily control. This is not about grinding yourself into burnout. It is about accuracy. Stop pretending that every feeling of tiredness is sacred. Stop hiding retreat inside buzzwords from therapy posts and wellness influencers. Most of the time when you walk away, you are not protecting yourself. You are protecting your comfort. You are letting years of conditioning dictate how far you go. That is the leash. It will not vanish by itself. You have to start disobeying it on purpose. The second mind. What wakes up after everyone else quits. There is a zone most people never meet on purpose. It sits right behind the fake wall. It starts about 20 to 40 minutes after the first strong urge to stop. This is where almost everyone checks out. They feel the initial wave of fatigue, boredom, frustration, and they leave. High performers stay. They cross into what feels like a second operating system. Call it second mind. Call it dark mode. It is the part of your brain that only appears when it realizes you are not going to accept its first offer to quit. Here is what usually happens. You sit down to work. First 5 to 10 minutes are scattered. Your attention bounces. Your mind still wants the fast, easy hits it is used to. Maybe you push through that and start focusing. At around 15 to 20 minutes, the strain rises. The task feels heavier. Time slows down. You feel more mistakes, more confusion. This is where you start bargaining with yourself. I will just finish this small piece, then stop. I am not in the right mood. I will get up in 5 minutes. If you obey, nothing unusual happens. You stand up. You grab your phone. Your brain gets what it wanted. The leash wins. If you do not obey, something else starts to occur. At first it is worse. You feel irritated. You might feel a bit anxious. Your body might fidget. Your hand might drift to your phone automatically. The anterior cingulate cortex, a part of your brain that tracks conflict and cost, is firing harder. It is telling you strongly that what you are doing is expensive. You are pushing against automatic habits. You are resisting easier rewards. That is why it feels so unpleasant. You are in open conflict with your own lower preferences. Most people cannot handle this and back down. The ones who do not back down teach their brain a new rule. We are not leaving. Under sustained effort, the chemistry shifts. The brain starts releasing more catecholamines like norepinephrine. This increases alertness and arousal. You feel more awake, but not in the jumpy way you feel after scrolling. It is a cold clarity. The prefrontal cortex, which handles planning, control, and focus, starts to tighten its grip. Background distractions lose a bit of their pull. Random thoughts still appear, but they slide off faster. If the task is matched to your skill level, not impossibly hard, not childish, you may slide into what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called flow. Flow is not magic. It has clear conditions. You need a clear goal. You need feedback that tells you if you are getting closer or not. And you need the difficulty to be just above your current skill, so that you are stretched, not crushed. When those conditions are met, and you have refused the early exit, your awareness starts to narrow. Time can begin to distort. An hour passes and feels like 15 minutes. Self-consciousness fades. You are not thinking about how you look or how smart you are. You are just inside the task. This is the state where people do their best work without feeling like they are forcing every move. You have seen parts of this state in others. The programmer at midnight, hunched over a bug for hours. For most of that time, nothing seems to work. They are annoyed and close to giving up. Then, after one more push, something clicks. A pattern appears. They reframe the problem, and suddenly the path is clear. In hindsight, that breakthrough looks lucky. In reality, it was bought with the stretch of time they were willing to spend inside second mind, past the point where most people slam the laptop shut and go to bed. An athlete in a fight feels something similar. The opening rounds are violent chaos. The body screams to escape. The lungs burn. The arms feel heavy. Somewhere past that, if quitting is not an option, a different calm can surface. The body accepts that pain is not going away. Energy is managed more strictly. Movements become cleaner, more economic. The mind starts to see openings that were invisible before. The athlete did not suddenly get new skills. The second mind just came online because the first mind's usual retreat plan was removed. Even in quiet work, the pattern is the same. A student forces themselves to stay at the desk for 15 minutes after their brain says enough. For most of those 15 minutes, they feel miserable and slow. Then, as they keep going, something small flips. The outside world fades a bit. The noise in their head goes down. They are just reading, underlining, summarizing. It feels less like a fight, more like drifting along a track. If they had stopped at the first wave, they would have never felt that shift. This second mind state is not some mystical gift given to special people. It is a mechanical result of staying in the ring with your discomfort long enough. The problem is that modern life almost never forces you to stay. There is always an escape nearby. Notifications, snacks, entertainment, low-effort tasks, fake urgencies. The moment you start to hit the gate that leads towards second mind, your environment offers you 15 back doors. You have been trained for years to take those doors. So you never get past the gate. You never teach your brain that the world does not end if you stay. The scarcity of this state is where the power lies. Most people will never experience it in any regular, intentional way. They will have random incidents in crisis or by accident, and then they will run back to normal. That means if you can learn to reach second mind on purpose, without waiting for panic or external pressure, you enter a level of performance that looks like talent from the outside. In reality, you are just operating in a mental mode that others have been trained to avoid. High performers are not constantly in flow. They are not superhuman. They just have a different relationship with the fake wall. When the first wave of fatigue and boredom hits, they expect it. They treat it as a signal that they are getting close to the real work, not as a sign to stop. They hold the line through that 20 to 40-minute transition, and as a result, they spend more total hours per week inside second mind. That compound time is what produces skills, systems, and results that look impossible to the people who never leave first mind. You do not have to like this. You might wish there was a way to reach that level of output with comfort, hacks, and gentle routines. You can keep chasing that fantasy if you want. But look at your own history. The periods where you moved the fastest, learned the most, or changed the most were not the comfortable ones. They were the periods where you were forced or chose to stay in discomfort for longer than you thought you could. Second mind is just that same pattern, applied on purpose and without drama. From now on, understand this clearly. That ugly stretch after you first want to quit is not the end. It is the gate. If you keep walking, a different part of your brain wakes up. It will not feel friendly at first. It will feel cold, strict, almost mechanical. It does not care about your mood. It cares about the task. Most people will never meet it by choice. You can, but only if you stop treating the first wave of fatigue as a wall and start treating it as the entrance fee. Overclock rituals. How to force the switch without frying yourself. Knowing that a second mind exists is not enough. If you do not build a clear way to reach it, you will stay locked in first mind while telling yourself nice theories about performance. The system you need is simple and brutal. You are going to create small blocks of time where quitting is not allowed, and you are going to strip away every easy escape in that window. You are not waiting for motivation. You are forcing your brain into the pain window and holding it there until it adjusts. Someone in your circle is going to build this second mind. If it is not you, you will be the one asking how they did it. Subscribe to Brain Shade and make sure you are not the slow one in the story. Start with an overclock sprint. Pick one demanding task, not 5. Not a whole to-do list. One thing that actually matters. Studying a chapter, writing a section, solving a block of problems, planning a project. Narrowing your focus this hard matters, because every extra option is an extra exit. Then build the environment around that sprint. No phone in reach, no notifications, no extra tabs open. If you need the internet, you only keep what is essential for the task. You are turning your space into a temporary bunker. One screen, one job, one outcome. Now you set a sprint window. 25 to 45 minutes works for most people. The exact number is less important than the rule behind it. During this block, stopping is off the table. This is not a guideline. It is not "I will try my best." It is a decision you make before the sprint starts. Psychologist Peter Gallwitzer called this kind of thing an implementation intention. If X happens, then I will do Y. In your case, it is closer to, if I start the sprint, then I do not stop until time is over, no matter how I feel. That pre-decision prevents you from bargaining with yourself every 2 minutes. The first 10 to 30 minutes of that sprint are the pain window. This is where your anterior cingulate cortex, the part that tracks conflict, screams the loudest. You will feel pulled toward anything else. Your brain will load you up with reasons to quit. You will feel convinced that nothing is going in, that you are too tired, that you are wasting your time, that a break right now would be smarter. This is the moment the ritual exists for. Your job is not to feel good here. Your job is to sit in that pressure without moving. You are teaching your brain that the usual trick of blasting you with discomfort no longer works. To make this hold, use your ego properly. Robert Cialdini showed that people care a lot about commitment and consistency. Once they see themselves a certain way, they want their actions to line up with that identity. Use that. Tell yourself, I am the kind of person who can stay with a task for 30 minutes without escape. If you stop at minute 12, do not soften it. Say the hard version. Right now I am the kind of person who cannot even hold 30 minutes. That sting is useful. It creates pressure to show up differently next time. When you complete the full sprint, mark it somewhere. You are proving something about yourself to yourself. Inside each sprint, do not just grind blindly. Erickson's work on deliberate practice shows that quality of effort matters more than raw hours. Break the task into clear, small sub-goals. Not study chemistry, but finish these 2 pages of problems and check the answers. Not write my book, but write 600 honest words about this specific scene. Give yourself feedback during the sprint. Correct answers, improved speed, cleaner code, clearer paragraphs. This keeps the challenge at the right level. Not too easy, not impossible. That balance is what helps second mind engage. After a sprint, you rest, but you rest on purpose. 5 to 10 minutes. Stand up, move a bit, drink water. Do something that does not pull your focus into a different deep task. No long conversations, no social media rabbit holes, no starting something that will pull you away for half an hour. Then you sit back down and start another sprint, if your schedule allows. This kind of cycling matches what research on ultradian rhythms and attention has found. Your brain naturally runs in waves of higher and lower alertness over the day. Short periods of hard focus followed by brief recovery let you ride those waves without crashing. If you stack 3 to 6 sprints like this across a day, you can rack up more real deep work than most people do in a week of half-distracted effort. And because you have built-in recovery, you are not burning yourself out instantly. The point is not to live in overclock mode all day, every day. The point is to train your brain that when you say we are doing this now, it no longer gets to vote based on mood. Over time, that training lowers the pain spike at the start of each sprint. What used to feel unbearable for 15 minutes will shrink to 10, then to 5. Your brain starts to believe you. You are not doing this for balance. You are doing this for advantage. Most of your competition in life is not talent. It is other people who have the same basic equipment you do, but have never built this kind of ritual. They rely on motivation. They rely on how they feel. They blame the day, the job, the schedule. While they are doing that, you are quietly converting controlled discomfort into unfair progress. Every sprint is a small, focused bet. I will eat this pain now to buy an outcome that will compound while they sleepwalk. You will be tempted to soften this, to let the phone stay near, to check messages just in case, to treat the sprint time as a rough plan instead of a hard rule. That is the leash talking. That is the part of your brain that does not want to lose power over you. If you give it 1 inch, it will take the whole block. That is why the ritual must be strict. You are not punishing yourself. You are training a stubborn animal with clear boundaries. Done right. Overclock sprints let you enter second mind regularly without frying your circuits. You are not staying in that state for 8 hours. You are visiting it in bursts. You are teaching your system what it feels like, how to reach it, and how to exit without crashing. In the process, you are rewriting your idea of your own limits. Your old story said, "I cannot focus for more than 15 minutes." Your new data says, "I can sit in 30 to 45 minutes of solid focus repeatedly, even on bad days." That is not motivation talk. That is a measured change in what your brain does when you tell it to work. The environment trap, cycles of fire, and what happens when you outwork geniuses. Your willpower is not fighting a fair battle. Every notification on your phone, every open app on your laptop, every tab you leave alive in the background is a friendly enemy. It acts harmless. It says it is just there if you want a break. In reality, each one is a hook designed to grab your attention and not give it back. Research on attention residue by Sophie Leroy shows that when you switch tasks, a part of your mind stays stuck on the previous one. You drag mental fragments with you. That residue makes your deep work slower and shallower. So every quick check is not quick. It leaves debris in your head that you carry into the next block. Social psychology has a harsh message for your fantasies about pure willpower. Situationism, shown in studies by people like Philip Zimbardo and Stanley Milgram, says that environment and context shape behavior much more than personality or beliefs. Regular people shocked others in lab experiments, not because they were secretly monsters, but because the setup allowed and encouraged it. Regular people acted cruel in the prison study, not because they were born that way, but because the environment pulled it out of them. If an environment can turn normal people into that, it can definitely turn you into a distracted, low-output version of yourself. So ask a blunt question. Is your room louder than your goals? If your space is set up so that your phone lights up constantly, your bed is within reach, your snacks are on the desk, your apps auto-login, and your screens are full of shortcuts to your favorite escapes, it does not matter how serious you are. That room will win. It is a trap wearing the mask of comfort. If you are serious about overclocking, you need a different kind of space, even if it is just a corner. Think of an overclock bunker. Simple, bare, nothing in view that is not related to the work block. If that means facing a blank wall, then so be it. You are not decorating. You are cutting interference. Once the trap is weakened, you can start thinking in cycles, not in single days. Running hot all the time is not sustainable. Your nervous system needs periods of overload and periods of deload. Sports science has known this for decades. Selle's general adaptation syndrome talks about stress, adaptation, and exhaustion. Push a system with just enough stress and then let it recover, and it adapts upward. Push without rest, it breaks. Never push, it weakens. Your brain follows the same logic. You need cycles of fire, followed by intelligent lower intensity phases. A cycle of fire might be a week where you plan multiple overclock sprints each day on high-value tasks. You accept that this week will not feel balanced. You will be mentally tired. You will say no to more social stuff. During this period, you are deliberately pushing your capacity. You are practicing staying in second mind more often. You pay attention to your sleep, food, and basic physical health, not because of some vague wellness idea, but because those are the support systems that keep your brain from breaking under the load. Then you follow it with a lighter week. Not a week of collapse, not a week of drifting. A week where your focused blocks are fewer, shorter, or aimed at less demanding tasks. You might read deeply instead of producing. You might review and organize instead of attacking new material. You might plan, reflect, and clean up your systems. Research on sleep and memory from people like Stickgold and Matthew Walker shows that consolidation happens offline. Your brain needs time and lower pressure to turn effort into structure. This is how you run hot for months and years instead of sprinting for 2 weeks and then disappearing. In this model, rest stops being an excuse and becomes a weapon. Lazy rest is random and full of digital junk. It does not heal you. It just fills your mind with noise. Strategic rest is chosen. You decide when to stop. You pick activities that lower stress instead of just numbing it. A walk without your phone. A conversation that is not about work. Reading something that stretches you a bit but does not drain you. Sleep at a real time. When you do this, your lower intensity days do not erase your gains. They lock them in. Stay with this pattern for months, and something strange starts to happen in your social life. The gap opens. Peers who looked equal to you 6 months ago start to fall behind. They are still talking about how busy they are. They are still posting about how tired they feel. They are still planning to start things you already executed and moved past. You begin to lap the people others call gifted, not because you were born sharper, but because you kept showing up for sprints they refused to run. Carol Dweck's work on mindsets becomes real here. If you used to believe your traits were fixed, every failure hurt your ego and made you pull back. Now, after months of training in overclock mode, your identity starts to shift. You stop caring as much about being smart and start caring about being the person who goes past the wall. Success becomes less about talent and more about who is willing to stay in the pain window on purpose. That quiet shift in identity is dangerous, in a good way. It makes you harder to shame, harder to manipulate with praise, harder to stop with comfort. There are side effects. You will get bored with certain conversations. When people around you treat basic effort as a heroic act, it will feel absurd. When friends complain about being tired after 30 minutes of easy work, you will see the leash, and it will be hard not to judge. Performative hustle will disgust you because you can see the gap between their noise and their actual output. There is a risk of arrogance here. You might start to see everyone else as lazy or weak. That is not accurate. They are mostly untrained and conditioned. You were too until you decided otherwise. Keep that in mind, not out of kindness, but because underestimating others is a good way to get blindsided. At the end of all this, your world divides into 2 kinds of minds. Not smart and dumb, not talented and untalented, but those who treat the first wave of fatigue as an exit sign, and those who treat it as the starting gun. The research on future self-regret by people like Dan Gilbert and work by Kahneman on how we remember experiences both point to the same thing. Your older self will not remember every detail of your days. They will remember key choices, turning points, and patterns. They will remember the times you gave in to the fake wall and the times you walked through it. Every study session, every work block, every creative attempt from now on is not just about the task. It is a test of tribe. Are you with the minds that obey the leash or with the minds that cut it? You do not need to post about it. You do not need to talk about it. You do not need to talk about it. The person you cannot lie to is the person you will become. They are the one who will live in the compound result of your choices. They are the one who will live either with the quiet power of knowing they went past the wall again and again, or with the quiet shame of knowing they had the energy and traded it for comfort. You know enough now. The next time your brain says, "I am done," while your body is still fine and your life is still on the line, you cannot pretend that this is just nature. It is a negotiation. Decide which side of it you are on. Then sit down, kill the exits, start the timer, and see how far past the fake wall you are actually willing to go.